You're not on mute.
Okay. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hi.
Love seeing all your familiar faces. Hi to my Michigan girls. So I'm excited. I have 7 shredders and I'm going to have coffee with all of them and follow up. So I love how Reagan and I kind of put that together and
Need Sherry too.
tonight's call, I really want it to be interactive. I have some notes that I'm looking at, but I didn't want to do a PowerPoint because we're going to talk about positive problem solving. And I just said to Reagan, I said to her last week when we were having a planning call, I said, look, nothing is without problems these days. We've got some challenges with our website. We're going through changes at Juice Plus. We're coming out of a worldwide pandemic. Like, we are in the midst of so much change. I really think we need to talk about just being problem solvers. How do we want to show up and confront the problems in our lives? Because nobody has it easy. And I think one of the problems we have with social media, thanks for pouring me a glass of wine, by the way. I think one of the problems with social media is you get everybody's highlight reel, right? But we all know that there are challenges. You know, when Reagan posted yesterday about what happened to her mom, I was actually glad that she let everyone know so I could shoot her a quick text and let her know that, you know, I love her and I'm praying for them. And so I just think it's important right now to be transparent about the fact that we are going to face challenges and how do we be positive problem solvers? So I was thinking about this all week, and if you've heard any of my talks before, very often, and I got this from Jennifer Myers, I really believe that there's 3 key ingredients for success, and that is your desire and ambition, and it's your work ethic, and it's your coachability. Desire and ambition, motivation, whatever you want to call it, is inside of us. And I want you to think about that within yourself and in the context of problem solving. Think about some things like, and I'd love for you guys to chime in, put some stuff in the chat or raise your hand and answer. Think about, how do you respond when there's a problem that arises? Do you procrastinate? Do you dive right in and get it? You know, I've heard that saying, eat the frog, do the hardest thing the first thing in the day, right? Do you blame? Do you try and delegate it? What does that look like for you? And what do you typically do in your Juice Plus business? You know, we have our Voxer group, and I know that my team's pretty great about being independent and figuring things out on their own, that kind of thing. But think about, okay, how do I show up? And maybe where could I do better, right? And that, I think that piece, when you tie it into desire, I think right now you've got to just develop in yourself a mindset to be hungry to solve problems. And I always tell my sons, I'm like, look, you know what? The people that make the most money, they solve the most problems, right? The entrepreneurs out there and all of that. And we are helping people solve problems with their health, with their finances, with what we have to offer in Juice Plus. Now, we can't solve all the problems in their life, but we can certainly give them the Juice Plus product, and we can give them the Juice Plus virtual franchise as tools to do that for themselves. So then the second thing I think really plays a role in this is your work ethic. And I think your work ethic really comes into, do you procrastinate? I know sometimes when I get a text from a customer and they feel like they have issues, I'm like, I'll take a day to look at it because I'm like, oh, I don't want to deal with their problems. And yet I know deep down the best thing to do is to dive in, make the phone call, figure out what's wrong and get to the bottom of it. And I think that really comes down to that work ethic that you bring to the table. So curious if anybody has anything you want to chime in and share. I saw one thing in the chat. Okay, just interrupt me if you do. But you know, think about that work ethic that are you really willing to work on problems that might exist, work through challenges? A great example is when you're team building, inevitably people in your team, you know, they say they want to come to conference, they say they want to have events, and yet they have they have obstacles in the way of that. And one of the things that you can really do to empower others and find out pretty quick if it's excuses or if it's just like, hey, they need a buddy to brainstorm and work through these things, is how can they work through those obstacles of, getting themselves to conference? Is it childcare? Is it time off of work? Is it the financial piece? What is it? Is it that they're afraid of flying? Find out what that is, help people work out, through those problems. And so, Reagan just talked about conference. If you don't have your ticket, get your ticket tonight to either live stream it or be with us in Denver, and be proactive in solving those problems in terms of any obstacles that stand in the way to you getting there, because that's an investment in you and you're your greatest asset, and you need to come and you need to grow now more than ever. Like now more than ever, we need conference. The third element that I think makes us successful is our coachability. Are we teachable? And you guys, I think it's really important as we duplicate that when we learn how to do something, the virtual office updates, our websites update, we learn how to make a shopping cart for a customer and send them their order in a text, and all they have to do is put their credit card number in. Share that and duplicate that and keep moving forward. As things change, and especially in this digital era that we live in now, things are always going to be changing. To embrace that and move forward, teach it to others, and be teachable ourselves. It can be, it might be things like, and I'm so guilty of this, of like asking my uplines, the same question 5 times instead of going and finding the answer myself, right? So, or if you find something that everybody can benefit from learning, make sure that you share that in our Voxer group. That's why that group exists, is to really be a mastermind for all of us to get the info and grow and move forward together. And so I'd love to hear from you now. How do you guys feel about all this? How do you feel about yourselves in these roles? What are some things you feel like you could do better? I want us to just be honest and vulnerable. I've been vulnerable. I can be the worst about making the phone call to distributor support. And you know what? This morning I did it at 7 a.m. and I got it over with. And I got a really nice person on the phone that helped me, and we got it all worked out. So I'd love to hear from you. Anybody?
I'll go. I know for me, I am very scattered brained. So I'll have all these ideas, all these things I want to do. I'll even tell Sherry, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I got that. Don't worry about this. And then next thing you know, I haven't done anything. And it's because I just overwhelm myself with the thoughts of the things that I want to get done. So I know that I'm a scattered brain person, and I know something that I can work on is organizing my thoughts better. And that's something that's a work in process.
How
But
would you do that?
a planner. I showed Sherry our last call. I got this cute little 3-month goal planner. So I'll be keeping up with stuff in there. It's building the habit of checking a planner too. So I have a habit of not checking a planner at all and just keeping it all in my head. But now it's setting a reminder to check my planner, check the planner, and get it done. So it's not just ignoring my alarm to check the planner, forgetting about the planner totally, and then not getting anything done. No more of that. It's setting an alarm for the planner, check it, get it done. That's
I have a question for you, Emily. So when you have an appointment like with a doctor, they say, I can't get you in until August 13th. Where do you put that?
in my phone,
Oh, so you have a planner.
in my calendar, in my phone.
Okay. So here's just a little tip. So I'm feeling your pain a little bit. So the number one thing I think that holds people back that I have seen over my almost 20 years doing this is they have 2 planners or they have no planner. So what you want to think about is maybe using that as maybe think about that thing as like your list of things you need to get done. And then schedule an appointment in your phone. This is my Juice Plus office time. So then you'll know you're going to pick up your list. This is mine. and you're gonna open it and go, okay, I need to invite for that event. So I have an appointment with myself I know the event's coming up. So when I put the event in, I'm gonna back out, a week and say, here's the time I have, I'm gonna build for this event.
Okay.
Or I have an appointment to make the list and build for the event, so that I'm putting that in my planner, which is on my phone. Because otherwise it's never gonna work. And I'm gonna tell you why it's not gonna work, because let's say you're busy, because I bet you are, and you're out having drinks with friends on a Friday night, and some girl says, hey, I want to hear more about that. And you go, okay, I'm gonna remember to put that in my planner to call her on Monday. And then where does that go? Monday comes and 2 Mondays go and you go, oh, I forgot, and instead of saying, hey, you know what, get your handy in, I know you're busy, I know I'm busy, let's chat next Monday. Are you around after work on Monday? How about if I call you at 5 and you make the appointment and then you go back to having drinks?
That is such good advice, actually.
So it's always the main planner and your list of things that you need to get done. Okay.
That is very good advice. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that Reagan has taught me so much about mastering your planner, your calendar. I switched to digital calendar a couple of years ago, and I set reminders and alarms for everything. And that's just made, everything is by appointment. And you guys, it's funny because, at my day job, that's just the expectation that everything is going to be by appointment. It's not like, oh, I'm going to stop in sometime next week and pitch you a proposal. It's not random. It's like, no, I need to know what time you're free and when I'm free, and let's set this up. I think that's great. And I also, Emily, I feel like I want to reframe that word scatterbrained for you a little bit, because you said that twice and it resonated with me, because I'm sure a lot of people would describe me as scatterbrained. You are actually brilliant and creative, and you have the capacity to think of a lot of important things at the same time.
That's right.
Your checklist and your calendar are your best friends. And I make lists all the time. I think very similarly. I am thinking about kids and work and Juice Plus and a volunteer thing and something that's going on with parenting all the time, right? So for me, it just helps me to make lists and start checking things off and keeping it really simple, because the other thing that is all of that creativity in my brain can overwhelm it, and then I crash and then I don't do anything. So when I get it out on a list, it is like I've released it and it's there and I'm responsible for it and I'm responsible to it, but it's not overwhelming my psyche. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I feel like you just spoke my own thoughts, about everything too. And it really means a lot to know that I'm not the only one out there that's not scattered brained, but just has a lot of ideas and can have that potentially hold them back if it's not put out in a list and everything like you just said.
Or an appointment with yourself. So if you haven't registered for conference, put an appointment for tomorrow at 9 a.m., register for conference, put it in your phone.
I'm going to start
It's a
using
reminder.
Yes. Thank you.
Don't, if you have things everywhere, I used to have somebody that was on our team that she had her family calendar on the refrigerator, and then she had her paper planner that was never with her, and then she had her phone going, and I was like, I don't know how you keep anything straight.
Lord.
And you can share my husband and I share, I can see his calendar on my calendar. It's a different color. So we know, if I'm booking, I can't book anything tomorrow night because I know I'm going with him to Erie for a political thing tomorrow night. So, it's like, okay, I'm not available then when I'm making my appointment with my girlfriend for drinks because I'm going to be busy that night. Right. So.
Yeah. And it's all in one place. So
all in one place, and you can color code it or whatever. So.
That's awesome. Thank you all so much.
Yeah. I love that came up. Thank you for sharing that, Emily, and being vulnerable with us, because that's really, really good stuff. And I think what we touched on there can also help you guys as you're bringing people into your team. Guess what? You're going to get an Emily or an Ellen. And some of you might say, this person is a scatterbrained basket case, but instead you can reframe that and say, okay, you know, it's look at the working relationship Reagan and I have. Reagan is one of the best planners I've ever met in my life. And we have learned to work together and both bring our strengths to the table. And that's that coachability piece. And I think because of it, we solve more problems together. So I would love to hear from who's next. Who's got something to share? You all are
Please.
quiet.
Yeah. What do you guys feel holds you back?
I tend to procrastinate when I know I have something to do. I procrastinate to put it off just because, like you guys have said, it's hard, some of it, or a little bit intimidating. And so I tend to procrastinate. And I've just now realized a pattern that I've gotten into. You know, I'll even like vacuum to make my Juice Plus call sometimes, you know, so it's just
Right.
procrastination for sure.
Right.
Set that appointment with yourself and you say, I'm committed to this. And then maybe, you know what, I love what Julie Herbst did is she set pictures of her kids on her desk. So she realized that when she wanted to do that, she wasn't doing it for herself. She was doing it for the future of her kids.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I thought that was great.
Yeah, you know what, Jenna, I think in that where you are in life, it's so easy to do that. And sometimes you just want the mindlessness of vacuuming, right?
Yeah.
And I like one thing that always has helped me is my vision board, my goals, and asking myself that question. And, you know, this is part of problem solving is asking yourself that question, what do I need to do right now that's going to drive me one step closer to that goal, or is going to do something to take the pressure off? Like, what's the one thing that counts the most? I mean, I said to Rory this morning on the way to school, I said, what's the most important thing you need to do at school today? And he said, turn in the last half of my vocab assignment so I'm not failing that class. And I said, bingo. Do great and everything else, but that's like your big rock, you know, that's that thing that matters the most. So maybe it's, you know, maybe it's calling 20 people to invite him to an event and, you know, don't worry about customer care today, just do those invitations.
Right.
And I like what Ellen said at the beginning too, eat the frog first, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that I think I had to teach myself because it is easy to procrastinate. And I remember when I first started, I was a wellness coordinator for a doctor's office for like 3 doctors. And they would give me these names and I would be so afraid sometimes to call them. And I don't know why, because I didn't know the people. I didn't know why they were giving me their name. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to just do the hard things first and then everything else will be easy. And I would feel so good when I'd get those calls done. Or, you know, like for inviting for events, it can be scary inviting somebody to come into your home to hear about Juice Plus. And it would be like, you know what, I'm going to get 3 done at a minimum today. And then it would be like, those went so great, I just keep going and get the whole list done, right? So do the hard things first, get it off your list, or prioritize and go, what's the most important thing? Well, you can't have an event if you don't invite, right? So you guys could have an event and have 10 connects, people that come to your house, and you get 10 coffee connects, okay?
Right.
I mean, be smart about your time.
And I think too, think about how are you going to feel on the other end of this? If I go to bed tonight and I haven't taken care of my customer problem and called customer service, guess what I'm thinking about at 10:15 when I'm laying in bed falling asleep? It's hanging over me. But when I take care of it, I've got a happy customer. How do I feel? Well, I feel great. And that feeling of greatness or whatever it is, you know, happy, satisfied, whatever, is going to perpetuate more successful action for you.
How many of you guys procrastinate about customer care? Why? Why do you do that?
I think for me, I always think it's going to be a bigger deal than it is. I always think of it as this like 2-hour thing and it's like 10 minutes.
Right. How about you, Judy?
I'm going to be totally honest. And sometimes I've thought, oh my gosh, if I call them and tell them their Juice Plus is going to ship, maybe they'll cancel.
Oh, And
Yeah, I've thought that many times, but it doesn't always work that way, obviously. Sometimes they'll order something else, but that crosses my mind and that makes it
and what if
scary.
you don't call them and their order ships and they're not ready? What
And
happens?
then they're mad at you, but I do it anyway, right? But
And they might
Yeah.
cancel.
then they will, right?
Yeah.
They will cancel.
So sometimes it's a reframe, like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to this person in 3 months, 4 months. Be great to see how they're doing, or, and for me, if I'm like not in a good mood during my customer care, like this month, for some reason, I was kind of in a funk about some stuff. And so I just texted them all, and every single one of them said, oh, it's so nice to hear from you. Thank you. I can't wait for my Juice Plus. I had one person who said, can you push it back a month? That's not a big deal. But, I went into the same thing where I was like, oh, I got to do the customer care, versus thinking, no, this is how grateful am I that this person has been taking Juice Plus for me for 17 years, right?
Right.
They're not going to cancel. Why would they cancel? And what a great opportunity to re-educate them if they decide that they might want to. So what else holds you guys back?
Fear.
Fear of what?
Oh, fear. Well, like, for example, I've had 2 Zoom events now and nobody came. And it was like, I invited like crazy. And, it could have been timing. It could have been, that it was like in November, and people are starting to get ready for the holidays. But yeah, those 2 events where nobody came it was hard to move on. I'm like, I'm going to do a wine and wellness and I'm going to do the coffee. And then I get this fear like, oh, nobody's going to show up.
So that's why I love that that's such a good bridge, because that's why we decided to do a Coffee Connect, because, at least you can invite somebody to go to coffee with you, right? And are they more likely to show up at coffee over a Zoom right now?
Oh, I think you're right. People are excited to get out of the house and have coffee, and and now it's getting nicer, so we can do it outside even.
Well, even a virtual coffee, like I've had a couple of like, hey, let's have, they're not even here. And I'm like, let's meet and I'm going to have my coffee. Let's have coffee together at 9 o'clock on Zoom. And it's been lovely. You almost forget you're not across the table. So
Oh, that's a great idea.
yeah. So here's the thing you got to remember, you're going to either earn or you're going to learn. That's it. Both are good. Right. And I mean, I know we all have had events where we invited gazillions of people, even at our own, when we had our live events more often before all this pandemic stuff, where people just didn't show up. And it is hard. It's awful. And then you start to think, well, what did we immediately do? We go, what did I do wrong? Oh, I wasn't good. I didn't invite right. I didn't do this. But then you do have to kind of go and look, okay, what could I adjust? Was it a bad night? Maybe it was. Maybe it was bad timing. Maybe people are Zoom fatigued. Maybe I didn't invite with my voice and I shouldn't have texted everybody. So you always need to go back and go, okay, what did I learn? And then how can I earn? Like, what's the next thing? And I'm going to try. If that's not working for you, try something else. And that's why, you get together with 10 people for coffee, whether it's one-on-one or in a group, I can guarantee you at the end of this month, you are going to have some new people eating Juice Plus and probably some people on your team, if that's what you're talking about.
Excellent. Right? Thank you.
And Karen, I just want you to know, over like now almost 16 years of doing this, I can't even count how many events I had nobody show up to. But I just learned to blow it off and just focus on the events where people came and just keep going. And yeah, I love the pivot from Zoom to coffee. I am so zoomed out. I don't know about you guys, but and now the weather is getting nice in Denver and it's like, go out and get fresh air.
All right, last one. Jennifer said she procrastinates with prospects, but she's good with customer follow-up. So that's an easy one to feel procrastinate about. And that's why, honestly, and I know, Jennifer and I have had this conversation at least 150 times in our careers together, is that if you're going to talk to somebody about Juice Plus and they said they're interested, then let's chat. I'm going to give you this information right now, or I'll get it to you tomorrow, whatever. Let's chat tomorrow, the next day, what works best. Like, don't waste my time. I'd love to help you out and get you all set up and get you some information, whatever you need. But I need to know, I know you're going to have some questions. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you're ready, we'll get you started with Juice Plus. That's what I say to people. Okay. Because then they know that I'm going to, oh, Jennifer says, sorry. No, Jennifer, it wasn't that, we all do it. Like, that wasn't about you having 150. We all have had 150 conversations, but we do. It's something that a lot of people have a hard time getting over. And even if you've gotten over it and then you haven't talked to people for a while, it sneaks back in, doesn't it? We all think we got over it. And the minute that we haven't talked to people for a long time, there it is again. And it's one of those things, and it's hard. So for me, what I have done is I just right then is I set an appointment with them that we're going to chat about the information right then. If I don't, then I think it's really hard to feel like you're chasing somebody, right? Because then you call and they're not there, or they don't return your text. And now all of a sudden what happens is the devil gets into our brain and starts telling you, oh, you're being pushy, and they didn't like you, and you said something wrong, and you weren't a good coach, and right? Flip that off. Set your appointment and don't worry about it, right? I mean, you're here to serve people, but you can't serve them if they're not ready to hear. If they're not ready to hear, you don't need to waste your time giving them information, quite honestly. Okay, we're not here to swindle people. I went to you guys heard me say, I went to a networking event last week, and a week before last, and I left there and I had a lot of fear, I think it was. I were just like, God, what am I doing? Why? Because there were a ton of brand new network marketers, those people in the group. And, I don't think of us that way, but they were so unprofessional. And it was almost like, hey, this is what I've got. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be that person. And we are so not that person, but it rocked me a little bit. Isn't that so? I've been doing it this long. And, I finally had to whack myself over the head and say, they are brand new doing what they're doing. They haven't learned yet. And our people are just so much more real. And we actually have a product that helps people. And we're not trying to do BOGO, buy one, get one, and all this stuff to kind of swindle people into wanting to try our oil or whatever it is. Right. So yeah, just coming back and saying, aren't we lucky that we have such a professional thing to be able to share, and just go out and talk to some people. See what happens. What's the worst that could happen?
No.
Nothing. That's the worst that could happen, is nothing. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I know we're running over a little bit. Anybody else have anything else? Or Ellen, you want to wrap up?
So I just really want to wrap up by saying that one of the lessons in life that keeps coming back to me over and over is, you guys, we're not meant to be an island. We're not meant to do life alone. We are meant to do life together. And I think that one of the greatest joys of doing all this with Juice Plus has been working alongside friends and the incredible relationships we have, the camaraderie, the culture. And so, I really want us to, I think we already do a great job of it, but to continue to develop a culture of problem solving together, like confronting, moving forward, getting on the ball, learning together, bringing people with us, because that culture empowers people to come join us and to be part of that, because it's positive, and being positive doesn't mean you ignore problems, right? It just means that you have an outlook of like, yeah, you know what, probably me and a couple of my smart friends, we can figure this out together. So I really want us to continue to build that culture. I see really great things for us down the road and in the future. And you know, as we go through changes in the Juice Plus company, as we re-emerge from the pandemic, get back to events, conferences, things like that, I think that if we take that spirit of growth and diving in and bring new people with us, I think there's so much that we have to offer everyone out there, and people want to be part of that. So, you know, once again, I'm just going to make the rally cry to all of us, like, let's go out there and let's get some new people. Bring somebody new with you to conference. Go out and have those cups of coffee and catch up and find those like-minded, health-conscious, positive, fun people that can join our mission with us, because we have a lot of work to do. We have a world that is still dealing with a lot of sickness and disease. And I think more than ever, people are down in the dumps. They're worried, they're depressed. And if they can get some health and some hope and some financial options, that is life-changing. So I just thank you guys for such a great call tonight. You contributed so much, and thank you for being here. And I can't wait to come back next week and do our wrap up and hear about everybody's coffee connections.
Absolutely.
Quick question. So for inviting people to conference, is there like a specific time or that they should come? Is it like a window or is it the whole day?
Are you saying for Saturday for conference?
Well, yeah, like to invite like a guest to come.
So where you're coming, because, well, if you were streaming at your house, you could do the whole day.
Mhm.
You could do the whole day. Where we are, I don't know if we're gonna have a whole lot of guests just because of capacity issues, but
Oh,
if you have
yes.
somebody you're thinking of, call me and we'll work it out, okay?
Okay. I do have somebody I'm thinking of. So yes, I'll talk to her and I'll kind of try to fill her out and I'll call you. Thank you.
Yep. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks, Ellen.
Thanks, everybody. I love you guys so much. Have a great week.
We love
Thank you.
Thanks, Ellen.
Thank
Thank you.
Love
Love you.
everybody. Good night.
Hi.